you, everybody, and welcome to the fourth See No Evil. You know, Aaron, Derek, and everybody has been putting this together for 4 years now, and during that 4-year period, we have made tremendous progress. This, I believe, will probably be the last year that we go down to the Southern Ocean. I don't believe the whaling fleet will return, but if they do, we'll be ready for them. But this year we went down for the first time stronger than they were. And that is thanks in part to the support of people like yourself. You know, the more support we get, the more resources we have. The more resources we have, the more effective we become. And this year we went down there, we caught them, we chased them, we got them out of there a month and a half before the season. They took only 17% of the quota, which means we saved about 800 whales this year. And we've cost them in total about $200 million. Now, what does that make us? I'm now officially, according to Japan, eco-terrorist. But they haven't charged me with anything. Okay. But I'm on what's called the Interpol Blue List, which means when I cross borders, they don't arrest me, but we've been requested to harass you by the government of Japan. Now, what's it like being on the Blue List? Honored. Who else is on that list? The Dalai Lama. So it seems to me that being on the Blue List is actually a badge of honor, and I'm proud to share that with the Dalai Lama. Since our return from the Southern Ocean, we've had the Steve Irwin and the Gojira in the Mediterranean. Now, the Gojira, unfortunately, is no longer the Gojira. By the way, Gojira in Japanese means gorilla whale. Translated in English, it's Godzilla. Now, the only thing more frightening than Godzilla are Godzilla's lawyers. So they made us change the name. So the Beast has now been renamed the Bridget Bardot, so it's now the Beast has become the Beauty. And that's because Bridget Bardot has been a long-time supporter and of seashore. So the Steve Irwin and the Bridget Bardot, we were just recently off the coast of Libya defending bluefin tuna amidst the entire NATO fleet that's attacking Libya. It's actually quite interesting. We're not allowed within 2 miles of a NATO vessel, but one of them said, "Identify yourself or face imminent destruction." I think we said, well, this is the Steve Irwin, and good morning to you also. And the Steve Irwin and the Bridget Bardot are presently right now in Barcelona. We just arrived there a couple of days ago, and many of the crew and I just came here from there. And we'll be leaving in a few days to head up to the Faroe Islands, which are a group of islands between Iceland and Scotland, where they kill pilot whales every year for sport, really. And so the next series, the Whale Wars series, will be tackling the pilot whale killers of the Faroe Islands. It's called Operation Ferocious Islands. And we've been there before, so we can anticipate that this is going to be a very dramatic summer. They're, you know, the problem with eating whale is it's full of mercury, and it does something really silly to your head, like it's called mercury poisoning, which means that it makes Swiss cheese out of your brain, really. So that tends to make our opposition a little strange to deal with. So we can never predict what they're going to do. But definitely something's rotten in the state of Denmark, and we intend to try and clear that up this summer. So it'll be an interesting summer, and we'll be filming all of that for Brown O'Connor. And I have to say, though, that ever since we started doing our show, Whale Wars, it's certainly increased awareness of the situation that's happening in our oceans tremendously. And so, you know, television is a major tool. And I've always said that the most powerful weapon on the planet is the camera. And quite a few of you brought those along tonight, I noticed. So that's what we'll be doing, and like I said, we'll be prepared to go back to the Southern Ocean if the Japanese return, but I don't think they will be. We're also now working in the Southern Pacific to protect sharks. Over 70, 80 million sharks are being killed every year. Now, a lot of people are afraid of sharks, and so it's a little difficult trying to get people to support us on that, but rapidly that's changing. You know, we did this film Shark Water, and that certainly changed a lot of people's minds. But, you know, there's a lot of fallacies about sharks. Everybody thinks sharks are, you know, eat people. The average number of people killed by sharks every year, by the way, is 5. Usually a case of mistaken identity because surfers look like sea lions from underwater. The average number of people killed by ostriches every year is 100. So ostriches are 20 times more dangerous than sharks. But see, this is just all the way the media portrays it. The other thing is that the average number of people killed by soda pop machines falling on them every year is 9. So your Coke machine is more dangerous than the shark. And it's more dangerous to play golf than it is to swim sharks because more people are struck by lightning and killed on golf courses every year than divers or surfers are killed by sharks. So it's really all a question of perspective. But how many sharks do we kill? 70 to 90 million. We're wiping them out. And what does that mean? The shark has shaped evolution in our oceans for 450 million years. Every fish you see in the sea, the way it moves, its camouflage, its behavior has been molded by the shark. To remove the shark from that ecosystem will cause incredible damage. But on top of that, we're wiping out the fish.
Should we stop?
Every single commercial fishery in the world is now in a state of collapse. And the bluefin tuna that we're protecting is a good example of that. There's very few fishermen left anymore. It's been taken over by corporations. And for them, it's all short-term investment for short-term gain. They want the fish to go extinct. That sounds very illogical, but why would they do that? And the bluefin tuna is a good example of that. One bluefin tuna is worth $70,000. One fish. That kind of price on its head means that they're going to go get it. And the more fish they pull out of the ocean and throw into refrigerated warehouses in Japan, the fewer fish, the more in the warehouse translates into the death of our oceans. We cannot live on this planet with a dead ocean. One of the best ways to explain our situation, I think, is just to look at where we are and what we are. We're on a spaceship Earth. It's traveling through the cosmos right now at 500 miles per second. And in that incredible speed, we've only gone around the galaxy 20 times since the beginning of the Earth. So it's a vast distance we're covering. But like any spaceship, it has a life support system. And that life support system provides us with the food we eat, the air we breathe, it regulates the climate, and that life support system is called the biosphere. And that biosphere is maintained by a crew of Earthlings. Now there's 2 types of species on the planet, crew and passengers. We humans, we're passengers.
Really?
We're having a great time entertaining ourselves at the expense of the crew. The crew, we're killing them off. And if we kill too many, the life support system is going to collapse, and there's not going to be a future for the passengers. So a few years ago when I said that worms were more important than people, I got severely attacked, of course by the Fox network, but what do you expect? They said, how dare you say that worms are more important than people?
It is
And I said it because worms are more important than people. Why? Because worms can live on the earth without people. But people cannot live on the earth without worms. We need them, they don't need us. We need bees, they don't need us. We need fish, they don't need us. We need bacteria, they don't need us. These are essential species. Their very existence means we can exist. And if we destroy them, we destroy ourselves. So in saving the oceans, when people say, what are you doing for third world nations? Or what are you doing to find a cure for cancer? Or what are you doing for this? The most important thing that we can do on this planet, more than any other thing, is defend and protect and conserve biodiversity in our oceans. Because if the oceans die, we die. It's really a case of self-preservation. And trying to get that message across is really the ultimate, that's the ultimate theme of the Sea Shepherd Conservation Society. This understanding that we must protect and conserve and defend our oceans from ourselves. And I would like to thank all of my volunteers, not just on the ships, but also on the shores, who put together events like this. That make it possible for us to go out there and do what we have to do. And, you know, when we get criticized on whale wars, people say, well, you know, those crew of yours are pretty inexperienced. Why don't you have professionals? I'll tell you why we don't have professionals. You cannot pay people to do what these volunteers do. That kind of passion cannot be bought with money. So this last year we had 88 crew from 23 different countries on 3 different ships. And really, though, the ships are there, the backbone of the entire operation was our crew. And we'll be bringing up some of the crew to introduce to you. And over the years, we've had about 3,000 volunteers that have participated. And I think it's been a real good experience for many of them, because one of the messages that we try to instill in our crew is that each and every one of us, each and every one of you, can make a difference. You all have the power to change the world. An example, a few years ago I had a man from Glasgow, Scotland call me up and he said, they're killing grey seals here in the Orkney Islands. What are you going to do about it? I said, well, let me see, I'm on the west coast of North America and you're in Scotland. What are you going to do about it? And he said, well, what can I do? I said, I'm just a draftsman here in Glasgow. So we went there and we got talking to him, and he organized a bunch of Scottish volunteers. We went up to the Orkney Islands and they were very enthusiastic. They walked up to the sealers, pulled the rifles out of their hands and threw the rifles into the ocean. All created a big fuss, all got arrested. But we created so much publicity in Scotland that we raised the money to buy the island they were killing the seals on. And that now is a seal sanctuary. And all of that was because one man said, what can I do? And that's what each and every one of us can say. What can I do? You can do anything you put your mind to. All you need is the imagination and the passion to do it. When people say, well, you know, this is so daunting. I mean, what can we possibly do to challenge this? My answer to that lies in the impossible. We have to achieve the impossible. But I believe the impossible can be achieved through imagination and passion. 1972. The very idea that Nelson Mandela would be president of South Africa was unimaginable, unthinkable, and impossible, yet it happened. We can save the oceans. It might be unimaginable, it might be unthinkable, but we can do it. We just have to have the passion, the courage, and the imagination to do it. And because of people like you who support what we're doing in other organizations and groups in your own community, that shows to us that passion is there. You know, in 1972 again, we put up a billboard in Vancouver, British Columbia. It was in downtown, and we put up the billboard and it had one word on it. It said, ecology. And underneath in small letters it says, look it up and get involved. Nobody knew what the word meant. So we certainly have come a long ways. People know what the issues are. People know that there are solutions. And I think what we're able to do as Sea Shepherds is to demonstrate that you don't have to be a government, you don't have to be rich, you just have to have the passion to go out there and do it. And also, don't depend upon big organizations or governments to solve these problems. Governments never solve problems, they create problems. Every single social movement in history is led by the passion of individuals, whether it be the anti-slavery movement, the civil rights movement, the women's movement. It's all been by individuals, not by government. Because of Diane Fossey, mountain gorillas in Rwanda have survived. One woman made a difference. The work of Jane Goodall, for instance. The reason we call our ship the Steve Irwin was because Steve reached so many children with the message of having to, to protect wildlife. Individuals make that difference. And this is what we're trying to instill in people, is that you can make that difference. And I'm very, very heartened by the fact that I've seen this more and more and more, and this movement is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it is the most important movement on the planet, the movement to save our planet from ourselves. So thank you very much. It's a great privilege to come here. I thank everybody for participating and putting on this event. It makes a big, big difference to us. It makes a big, big difference to the oceans. And so thank you. And I'll introduce. We'll bring our crew up. I think they're here. I can't see, but I'll bring them up here and introduce you to them.
You're gonna have like no video.
I knocked down the phone.
Thank you. Sounded like a whale. This is Captain Lockie McLean of the Gojira in Bridgewater. Crystal, yeah, I know. Crystal Galbraith she was the woman who infiltrated the Hump restaurant and got the information to shut it down. Here's a vegan who had to eat whale meat in order to get the evidence. But she put it aside. They did the DNA testing on it. We got the federal government in there and we busted them. Who knew that they were selling whale meat in Santa Monica Airport? But that place has now been shut down. Thank you. We always have a problem with her last name. McEwick. Right. She was a crew member on the Bob Barker, and so this is her second season, and she's been on what was that show we were on? Larry King. Yeah, we went on Larry King.